This video is brought to you by Patreon provider Dave.
Well, hello there. My first ever Bushnell product across my table. This is an AR-223 first focal plane 1:4 LPVO. Of course, graciously sent in by Patreon provider Dave. This is interesting. I've never gotten my hands on one of these before, and I have some questions, clearly. Anyway, these are about $300 brand new. They are a 1:4, like I said, first focal plane LPVO, made in Korea, and have some interesting features. We're going to start with the weight, because this thing feels a little chunky. I'm going to hazard a guess and say 18 ounces. Ooh, so close. 17.7 is not bad, really, ultimately, but it feels like it's fairly well made. Fast focus eyepiece at the back. You could hear that. It's got a little bit of rubbing on the inside. Quarter turn in. Very little wiggle. Extremely little wiggle. That is fine. Decent amount of resistance coming out. Nothing wowy. It's just, it's about average, but pretty tight, all things considered. Why? Okay. I appreciate the fact that they actually put a throw lever on here, but who the needs this? This is extreme. This little tab right here would be more than sufficient for 95% of the people out there, myself included. But this is just getting in the way now. This is just silly. Kitty cat, stop scratching my bag. My girl loves to scratch my stuff. Anyway, 1:4, 180 to 80-ish degrees, probably like 3 or 4 off. Very easy to turn. Almost no resistance on this thing. And they give you a 2-inch plus throw lever. No idea why. But I'm at least glad that it's here. I could always pull it off, put a smaller one in there, whatever. Bushnell, thank you for at least including that. And you know what? This little O-ring here is not for grip. It's so that it doesn't hit the body of the optic and scratch it. If there was no O-ring there, you can clearly see that would rub. Definitely bottoms out. So good thinking, I guess. Illumination control is 1 to 11 with a single 0. Single off position, I should say. Oh dear. This thing is almost perfectly smooth. The detent on this is either completely worn down, even though you could see there's been some rings on it in the past, but it is very, very little to no detents on this illumination control. Battery compartment opens easily enough, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but we have a O-ring right there on the shoulder, decent sized spring. Ooh, more fingers too. We have 8 fingers holding a standard CR2032 battery in it. Looks like we can cock it to the side. We have 3 dimples in there, and we can hear that nice satisfying click, and we can put it back together. Could be worse, but it could be significantly better. Now here is probably the biggest question I have. Why have a 1:4 first focal plane LPVO with a drop reticle and have target turrets? Let alone, not just target turrets, but like non-locking target turrets. What's the sense? I don't get it. Anyway, Bushnell decided to include target turrets on this thing, and they are clearly in mils. 1 click is 0.1 mil. You have 6 mils per rotation, which is kind of an odd number to have, because if you do, I'm getting ahead of myself, but if you do that, I would assume that I'm up 5 or 10. Keep it even, right? No, you're up 12. It's like, it's not an easy number to remember, especially considering everything in mils is in to the 10 or 10th. So it would just make sense. Anyway, turrets are actually very nice. Very little play, good detent, and good little sound to it. I just don't know why they opted to do these with this particular setup. This is an enigma. Everything about this is just weird. Anyway, listen to that action. That is fantastic. Definitely better than what it needs to be for any sort of control. But keep in mind, you can clearly see they cheaped out by using the exact same turret for both the windage and the elevation, with the exception of the top changes from up to right. You were nice enough to change that, but you weren't nice enough to just to change, like, one and then one. Wonders will never cease. Anyway, let's get behind this thing and see what it actually looks like.
Let's get right into it, shall we? From the very get-go, we take in a lot of information. Number one, we see a massive amount of scope body. Number two, that hump on the left at 9 o'clock is, of course, the throw lever. The reticle is extremely small, but just like the SIG Tango 4-1-4 first focal plane that I had reviewed many, many moons ago, we actually have a very good-looking flat 1X. It might be very, very hard to see the reticle on this thing, but other than that, the image is pretty good. But that's about the only takeaway. Everything else is on the lacking sort of end of things. Focusing our attention on the reticle, the illumination here on full is daytime noticeable-ish. It's just enough to pick up on very dark targets in the middle of the daytime. So you know what? Again, for most people, it's going to be okay. But given the size of this reticle at 1x and the fact that it's got nothing else helping your eye focus to the center, it's pretty bad. Plus, the design of this reticle, I get what they were trying to do, but because it's so small, it's really, really hard to pick up. Even here at 4x, it's kind of hard to distinguish, especially when you're using this thing at distance, where all those hash lines are. Add that all up with here at 4x with an okay-ish image at 400 yards, and you have a pretty sort of like middle-of-the-road performance. It's okay. It's not great. It could be worse, though, but not really much worse. But anyway, what can you expect for the price point with all the stuff that this thing offers? Like, it offers just way too much. But that's going to conclude this unboxing. Dave, thank you so much for sending this in for review, because this is something I never would have thought I would have gotten my hands on. And to all my viewers out there, thank you very much for watching, and as always, see you again next time. And a huge thank you to my Patreon providers. Without you, this truly wouldn't be possible. If you'd like to help support the channel but don't want to join my Patreon, I completely understand. But you can help by using the affiliate links in the description below. Thanks again for watching.